right, Phil, we're back. Saturday morning, waking up with a hangover, but not the hangover you might think, my friend. We're talking about the Success Hangover. This is the Success Flow podcast, and you're going to have hangovers when you hit those big highs. So what do you know about the Success Hangover? When you set a goal, you crushed it, you celebrated, and then all of a sudden, boom, you feel lost, you feel empty. You're like, man, now what's next? You don't have a plan.
I love it. And this is like human nature, I think, especially human nature for the folks that are listening to this podcast, that are striving for things and setting goals and milestones and contributing to society and business. And we set these milestones and we get hopefully locked in on them. And then we get there and don't get me wrong, it feels great. The dopamine shot's there, but you're lucky if it lasts a week in my history. And then it's on to the next. And it is, have you ever heard the term hungry ghosts?
No.
Forget the origin of the term, but it's like this idea of a ghost that has no stomach. So it's eating and eating and eating, and it's never satisfied. And this is a really dangerous place to get in when we talk about burnout, life satisfaction, and how we're showing up for the people around us. So I love the topic, and I love the idea of a hangover, because you and I have had our fair share of those in the past.
We definitely have, but not so much anymore. I think we've changed our relationship with alcohol and different things. We're focused on the business athlete mindset and putting the work on, in the asset, which is our bodies and families and work and everything that we strive for. So. But yeah, I mean, success, it gets romanticized, right? You see all the fancy stuff, like it could be wealth, it could be all the adventures and trips that you go on, and it gets it's exciting to see, right? The awards, the accolades, and I want these things, and there's so many people out there that reach those milestones, and I mean, a week, that sounds like an eternity. I bet you it's far less than that in most cases. I mean, even like you win the Super Bowl, I think it was. Tom Brady, after 3 Super Bowl wins, he was like, I feel like I still have more to do. Like most people would be like, you should be high on that forever. Like you've
straight to the Bahamas or the Maldives.
Right. And maybe he did some of that, but it was just he's one of those guys. And that's why he's legendary, is because you have to have the purpose after the success. Like, so I think the whole point of bringing this up is, how do we develop ourselves to continue the momentum after our successes, our wins, whether they're large or small, it doesn't matter. But when you have small wins, how do we compound those to future smaller wins? When we have big, massive wins, how do we prepare ourselves for the next thing after those wins? So that way we don't fall in the trap of despair and lost, and, you just can't find that purpose to keep going.
Yeah. You bring up the valley of despair, which we've talked through on the podcast before. And this does go back to the peaks and valleys conversation, right? The highs and lows of business and life, and how quickly can we get out of those valleys or troughs. And what we're really talking about is the myth of arrival. We think that there's this arrival place that we're going to get to, and we can see it in our mind. It'll be this house, this car, this number to the bank account, this partner, this. And that's just not how life works. Everything is in constant motion and fluctuating. You're becoming a different human. All of your cells are regenerating in about 7 years. You won't have the same cell in your body in 7 years, or somewhere along that. I know we're getting to a little bro science here. We're definitely bro scientists, by the way.
Yeah.
I
don't think there's any real certifications on this podcast.
Hey, you got the flow certification, but I don't think people take that. But this does come back to dopamine, which I know we're going to talk about a lot. And it's the ability to manage this and get to your regulated nervous system to where you can be level in the mundane, try to keep those peaks and valleys a little bit more regulated. To me, that is one of the key pillars of fulfilled life.
So let's give some examples. Like, I know when I was with in corporate America, you get these, and you've experienced this as well, being a successful salesperson, and you get these President's Club awards or annual awards when you reach certain milestones, right? And usually those trips, like we've been to Barcelona, I've been to Hawaii a couple times. I won a trip to Rome, but didn't end up going to that one. Some life events and personal stuff happened, but you win these awards and you win these massive, and you're like, oh my gosh, I made it. And the year closed out, but those trips are usually like 6 to 8 weeks into the new fiscal year, right? So you're all excited and you're like, oh my gosh, I killed it. And then you go on the trip and you come back and you're like, oh shit, I'm 2 months behind. I did not I achieved success and I'm excited, but all of a sudden now I'm like, I'm 2 months behind. I didn't prepare myself. And I've got a lot of work to do to try and duplicate that for the next fiscal year. And then you fall into this like scramble mode, or maybe even a little bit of depression because you're not putting up the same numbers that you did last year. And so it's like, how do we protect ourselves from that? And I think it's just staying the course. It's just staying the routine. Like, yeah, you've won this award, but you've got a whole new year. And so just continue putting in the effort like you normally do that got you to that point.
I don't think we've talked about this before, or maybe we have. And I've been in a worse situation where you show up to the island and I couldn't really enjoy the trip because I was behind.
Yeah.
I was going into the trip thinking, great, this was last year. Now I'm behind. How do I enjoy this trip? Which is silly, right? Like, it's the peaks and valleys. The whole point of this podcast, it's the ability to, we talk about the space between trigger and response, to address what your mind's doing in that moment and pivot to be able to do the right actions, get back to your playbook, build your plan if you haven't already, and work that plan to crawl yourself out of the trough.
Yeah. And it just doesn't, this feeling after success doesn't get talked about enough. I think when people see that you've had some success or big win, like winning a championship or maybe exiting a business or, whatever, they see them, they think you're good, like you've made it. Right. And that's the feeling that most people would think you would have. And I think that you just have this period of time. We've had a lot of entrepreneurs on this business on this podcast who have exited businesses, and they've all had the same theme. Figure out the next step before you get to that point, because you're just wandering after that. Like, yeah, you've got some cash in the bank, but you're not, like, you just go into this deep kind of abyss and loss of identity in a way. And so, like, to give an example, that when I was researching for this podcast, when Instagram sold to Facebook, those guys built an incredible app, sold it to Facebook, hundreds of millions of dollars, loaded, set for the rest of their multi-generational wealth, right? They had no purpose afterwards. And they've admitted that there was like full depression. Like, what do I do? Like, I can't just sit around moping around my house. I've got this stuff in the bank, but what do I do? This was my whole identity. And now I've lost my way. And so I think that's what most people don't see and they don't talk about, because it's like, you've hit this milestone and it should just last forever. What are you upset about? You've got multi-millions of dollars in the bank. You should be happy. And it's like, we're human. Humans don't operate that way. The brain doesn't recognize that just because you got money in the bank, it's supposed to be happy now. And it's all about purposeful work and it's purposeful relationships. And so it's developing those along the way that allows you to continue that happiness and joy. The money is just a byproduct of that situation. And so I think it's an interesting topic that most people don't talk about.
You just brought up identity, and it's something that I struggled with a ton. Like, if you ask someone, this goes back to our Conversation Icebreakers episode. It's like, who is Stephen Harris?
Who am I? Well, yeah, I'm a husband, father, entrepreneur, a guy who works on big ideas and opportunities and takes action.
So that's who you've married, what you've produced as offspring, and how you make money in the world. But who's Stephen Harris?
Yeah, these are deep questions. I don't know if you can answer that.
It's hard, right?
Yeah.
We're put on this planet, just dropped in a geographical location, and then we are nurtured by a certain group of human beings and environment give us these characteristics that we grow and build neural pathways of, this is who I am in this meat suit. When you make those your identity that are outside of you, that can all come crashing down from external factors. You can lose your family. This is getting a little too deep, but you can lose your family, you can lose your job, you can lose your business. Then who are we? And that is the thing that if we can find that, I believe, not fully there yet by any means, but if we can find that, that's where that peace and wholeness comes from.
Well, I would say as I have an opportunity to kind of think about it, not me personally, I mean, yes, me personally, but I think in general, it's the impact that you have on other people should always be the focus, whether it's your circle or out in the world. Like, we did a episode on the hero's journey, and the call to adventure was one of the phases in the hero's journey, one of the steps. And I feel like people that have the call to adventure to put themselves out there and make an impact for others in a positive way will always find that purpose no matter what they're doing. And it's just constantly putting forth the effort and the action towards that. That's it. Just help someone else every day. Find a way to help someone. Reach out to them through a text. hey, I'm thinking about you. Put a smile on someone's face every single day. And that purpose will come back after you've had a massive exit or along the way, or won a championship, or, all of those along the way. So I would say, like, as humans in nature, we thrive on community and relationships, and we thrive on being together and in unison, and finding the people around you that you can do that with. That's what keeps you going. And so, who are you? Be that person that puts others first, while also making sure you're putting the oxygen mask on to make the positive impact, right? So it's kind of all of that.
I love that you said the oxygen mask, because what do you find at the peak of a mountain? Like, lack of oxygen.
Yeah, there's no oxygen.
You're tired, you're depleted. And if you can start thinking about those valleys and those troughs where the dopamine's gone, and you're approaching the next peak as a time to regather your oxygen and gear up for the next push, because there is no arrival. This round of consciousness, in my opinion, whatever you believe, you're going to be either in the middle of a peak of a climb or coming down one. Who knows where you're going to fall, but it's not going to be a set destination. I tell you that, whether it's you think you're going to retire in Florida, or, having sweet tea on the front porch. Maybe that's it. But to your point, I think the only thing, I agree with you fully, the only thing that I would add is growth. I think that we're just always trying to grow with that connection. And what are we capable of? What is that me besides what I'm putting out in the material world or building, consuming?
Well, yeah. And it's just changing the perception that success is final, and it's not the end game, and it's not the chase. And, it's, because once you get there, what happens? And so if you're consistently growing, you're consistently adding new things to, adding new things to your plate on how you can level up, or in your pursuit of excellence, or whatever. It no longer is about the end game of the success. It's more about, I'm not even thinking about the wins or losses. I'm just being. This is who I am, and so it goes back to your identity, figuring out what that purpose is. And your massive, the massive transformative purpose has nothing to do with what you do or the actions you take. It's literally just, this is what everything about that MTP that you do, it aligns with that. It's your North Star. And so you never doesn't matter if you're losing or winning. It's just you're just integrating all of that into your life. And so you don't have, but we fall trapped to it, where you just have these, stock market stuff. You have all of a sudden you 5x'd on an investment, and you're like, yeah, this is freaking awesome. And then, other factors come into play, and then you lose half of it, and you're like, oh my gosh, but you gained 50%, along the way. And so it's a great analogy of, like, I was all the way up here and now I lost here. But if you look at the beginning, you still gained 50% of that profit, that you didn't, but you're still bummed because it used to be up here or whatever. And so there's just a lot of different ways that you can look at this stuff. And it's like, well, look at where you were before and look at the growth since then.
Absolutely. So let's take your stock market example and talk through the dopamine, right? Because we talk a lot about dopamine on this channel. I'm kind of obsessed with it because it's key for me to manage, as mine are naturally low. And people get dopamine, they think of it as the outcome, as the result of that peak in the stock market. It's actually the rise. Dopamine is a pursuit molecule. We get it to chase things. It's literally a part of our nature to find food, find spouses to reproduce, and keep going. The problem is all of those things we have just readily available, click of a button, flip of a switch. And we talk about wrong and right dopamine, but it is the pursuit. So if you can reframe that to, this is the cliche of it's the journey, not the destination, which is the whole point of this podcast. Dopamine doesn't care about the finish line. It only cares about the chase. And if you're just chasing via scrolling, it's the perfect example. You like the process of scrolling. You don't like the post. Like, let that sink in. It's just, there is no end to the pursuit.
It's just zoning out. Yeah.
There's no perfect post that's going to be like, oh, now I have fulfilled on social media. I'm done.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Hungry ghosts.
I have found there's definitely some funny shit, but it's like your mind is just, this is fantastic. It's just zoning out, and you lose all these minutes that turn into like an hour, and you're like, what the? And then you put the phone down, and you're just like, I got a friggin' headache, man.
Depleted.
Depleted. And it is because of that dopamine. It's pumping through your body. It's the high. And
because you had been chasing,
right.
But it's just been a useless wild goose chase. Like,
right.
Not how the brain, and this is so much easier said than done. But if you reframe that to a long walk, you reframe that to sitting in silence, a book, how hard is it? I've noticed myself since in the last 10 years, I read more and it's harder for me to read. And that's one of the things I'm working on changing. Like I moved to audiobooks, like summaries. And no, I'm going to get back to word by word. Anyway, going down a rabbit hole here, but this isn't going to be the last time we talk about dopamine on this podcast because managing it is the key to motivation, which I kind of hate that word, but getting yourself to chase the things that you want, not what every large corporation or, I mean, we'll be careful what we say, not that we're that highly out there to where we'll be shut down, but there are people that have mastered these things. And you're their puppet until you take control over your own dopamine.
Yeah, I like using this. So I play hoops, right? Saturday mornings, I play pickup basketball. And like, if I hit a couple of threes, dude, I'm like riding high. Like I don't shoot as much as I used to. I'm play like once every couple of weeks. Like I'm not like in the gym in between. It's just all from development of me playing hoops when I was younger. And just like kind of just my body just does its thing, right? But I hit a couple of threes and I'm like riding high and then all of a sudden I miss a layup. Like I'll miss a layup or something. And now I'm like, dude, I suck. Like I'm not playing well. And like, but I just hit 2 threes before that. Right. And like, so you have this high, this success and you're excited, you're helping the team, you're doing these things. And then you miss a layup that should have been a gimme. And now you're like, dude, and then all of a sudden you start, and then now you're tripping over your feet on defense or the guy gets around you and hits a shot on you. And then your next shot is off and now you're like, what the hell? And it's like, but it's just the ups and downs. So you have this post success and it's like, no, dude, just play the game, just play freely, just like, and win the game as a team. And that's the focus, right?
Dude, exactly. And think about why we love the NFL. Think about how long drives are, how many boring 1-yard runs there are, how many sacks there are. That pursuit of your team gets a touchdown, super high. Okay, now we're kicking off next drive. How long does that touchdown thrill for your team last? It's that's why we love sport.
Well, it's the chase, as you said, for the next success, the next success, the next success. And I think the hangover, though, going back to our analogy here, is after that success, you've had a great, just like when you're drinking booze, right? Like the night out, Saturday night, you're having a blast, great night, amazing. And then the next morning, you just feel like crap. And you just have to like fit, and it's longer, more hours to recover from that high. So if we can prepare ourselves to almost change the relationship with success, of not like taking the moments and enjoy what you've done and celebrate those wins for sure, but it's on to the next thing. It doesn't stop. And I think that's the point is a lot of people think it just stops after that. I've made it. No. It's just life. Like just keep going, like keep whatever you're building, pivot and do something. Like if you've had massive success here and maybe that thing does end, like you won the championship and it's your last season or whatever, and that does end. Well, then after your career is over, like what have you already got in the works that you're planning on, working on and keeping yourself? Maybe it's coaching kids, or maybe it's becoming a broadcaster or whatever, right? Like if you want to stay within the realm of that industry. But I think the point is it's not, success is never final. It's always figuring out what that journey is. And the journey doesn't always have to be straight to the same peak, right? It could be a totally different peak to find success somewhere else, but it's just integration of life.
Oh, it's so true. And as we were prepping for this one, which I love where this conversation has gone, there's a Hormozy quote. I'm hoping that you've heard it. The 3 traits of high achieving founders. Have you heard this?
I have. Yeah.
They did this study and it's really fascinating to me. I doubt it's the 3 things that most people would think. The first one is they have, sounds arrogant, but a superiority complex. Like I'm meant for greatness. I deserve more. I just have the capability and I feel like I can do this, so I will. That one's probably a given. The second one, which is almost a paradox, like the opposite, is I'm not good enough. Yeah, it's an insecurity thing. I'm not good enough yet, which fuels the grind, like blissfully dissatisfied is kind of that combination. The third one, the hardest one, that they have is impulse control, delayed gratification, the ability to stay on one thing for long, long periods of time. And that quote, since I've heard it so many times, it's like, how do you get that trifecta? Because I know I got 2 out of 3. And it is just something that ties really well to this. When you talk about the peaks and valleys, the insecurities, the drive of massive transformative purpose, and then that ability to keep the dopamine in check.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it was good. It was a good conversation. For anyone listening, if you've ever felt lost after a big win or, a big success or milestone, you're not alone. You're human. We've all been there. And it's just, it really is just building out what is your identity, your massive transformative purpose, what is your routines. Nothing changes after those wins. You just keep doing the daily work on growth and making a positive impact on others. And I think no matter what those wins look like, it'll help. That just is cherry on the top, right? I mean, it's not the ice cream. It's not the cake, the success, the wins, whatever, that's the cherry. Everything else is you're still baking the cake. It doesn't matter what it is. And we're not done. And it's just always a go forward.
And we're going to keep baking this cake, but I think that's the pod.
I think so too. It was a good one.